from the NWA brand. It's going to be huge for the Rey Theater and our local company. Let's welcome in Hobo Hank, Joe Singer right now.
Mike, how are you doing?
Good. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. It's been a long time since we got to talk on the air.
Right? It was so much fun doing it the first time, and now we get to bring you back around to preview the upcoming card and a match that I'm sure you're truly excited for to get to mix it up with a talent of that caliber.
Yes, it's humbling first and foremost just to be part of NWA in any capacity, and the fact that we get to my internet's being a little funky. Sorry. Yeah, to represent them as a territory is one thing, but to face off with their world champion right here in Albuquerque, that's pretty cool, man. Silas Mason is a huge talent for them, and I cannot wait to get across the ring from him.
Silas Mason. I mean, we know we have this working relationship here with Duke City Championship Wrestling, NWA New Mexico, and the big NWA, but it's not just Brian Idol. Now they're right away sending out that's a big gun. We've had Natalie Markova, Brian Idol. They've been amazing, but were you even surprised to hear that they were sending Silas out here so soon?
Yeah, and I think I have Billy Corgan personally, I think, to thank for that. He's been great ever since we signed on board with them. We're now rounding our first year as an official affiliate of theirs, and we are already renewed to be into our second year. They've been supportive since day one, and not only that, not to diminish that in any way, because that alone is going to be a great match, but the Country Gentleman will be here, so complete with Joe Kazana on the outside. And if you guys have not seen him in action as a manager and not seen the Country Gentleman in action as a tag team, you are in for a treat and then some.
The Country Gentlemen, and we're putting them against our best, Pretty City Express. What should the fans kind of expect out of that kind of style matchup?
I'm really excited to see that one. So, Pretty City Express, obviously not the fan favorites, right? And they've got Matthew Robles in their corner, known for breaking the rules, but those guys can get it done in the ring for sure. The Country Gentlemen are very similar in a way. They're both the big guys. They're well put together, a lot of experience as a tag team. They're brothers, so they're going to work well together. And they've got their dad outside. Joe Kazana has got decades of experience in professional wrestling, and he is an old school Southern country gentleman wrestler. And it just harkens back to the old days of the NWA tradition. I think that sums it up in one word. So to see those two teams face off with each other, it's going to be fascinating to see the kind of the mind games between the two managers, and then just the experience between all those guys in the ring. It should be an incredible showdown.
He gave me some kind of Colonel Buddy Lee Parker vibes looking at some of his stuff.
Yes, very, very much so. He's got the white suit, Southern gentleman. Just again tradition, and from when wrestlers were gentlemen, from when they carried themselves with a certain air. That's what you're gonna have that feel from them. As soon as they walk into the arena, it's gonna take you right back to the glory days of NWA, and it makes you proud to be part of it.
When did you first become a fan of the NWA? Do you remember who you were watching back then?
Oh my gosh, I've been a fan of just wrestling in general since I was 7 years old, which would have been 1987, and anything that was put in front of me, I was happy to watch it. So whether it was, live events, or whether it was tapes, or anything that I was exposed to, of course, growing up in that age, WWE was going to be, or WWF at the time was going to be, the primary show. But who hasn't been in the end of, or old school NWA, Dory Funk and Harley Race and Ric Flair over and over again, the Funks. It's crazy. When I got the opportunity not last October, October before last, to actually go to Tampa and be part of the NWA Power tapings. And it was crazy when I was in the ring and wrestling. I'm in the middle of the match, just getting whooped on, and my head was hit into the turnbuckle. But right before it happened, I saw those three letters, NWA, and it just reminded me that I was in that ring and being part of an NWA event, and it kind of brought tears to my eyes a little bit. It was really something.
You've been there, you've done that, you've been all across this country, but does it still hit? Do you still feel those nerves and butterflies when it's a bigger occasion? Did something like that like touch you?
It really does. Yeah, you know, a lot of times it doesn't really hit you until it's there. You know, you just people call and they ask you to be part of things, and you appreciate it and you go, and then the day of the show comes and it's like, wow, I can't believe, looking back all these years, this summer will be 30 years since I started wrestling. um, and when I started, I was just a kid. I had no ties to wrestling. None of my family are wrestlers. I didn't know anybody that was in the business. So um, really, I never should have gotten all the opportunities that I've received. I've just been very, very fortunate to be around the right people, and uh, and they've taken me to all these great places. And so um, you know, later on in February, February 7th is our event here in Albuquerque, uh, where I will wrestle Silas Mason. And then on the 21st of February, myself, Fred Slow, Pretty City Express, we will all be headed out to Tampa to be part of the NWA Power tapings in Tampa, Florida. So hoping to be part of the NWA experience again. And then in March, I was just notified a couple days ago that I will be part of the NWA Texas taping, which is in Forney, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Making my debut for NWA Texas, which is affiliated with Dog Pound out of San Antonio. Mr. Rodney Mack and Jazz. I'm excited to go out there and meet all of them, and kind of expand our NWA family and meet up with them.
Does it feel like your style fits the style of NWA, where there is a little bit of the throwback mold of the wrestling? You bust out the bulldogs, the traditional DDTs, the Russian leg sweep, some of the moves that we don't see as often anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel right at home in the NWA. I think it's kind of a perfect place for Hobo Hank to play and perform, because I am old school. You know, I when somebody asked me what were the moments that shaped me and really made me think back to what wrestling meant to me, the majority of the things that resonate with me were on Superstars, you know, WWF Superstars, or Challenge, or on NWA. And so, um, yeah, to be able to wrestle that style and do it with people that still celebrate that style, it's great. I really like it.
When you come up with a character like Hobo Hank, do you expect it to stick? Do you expect it to have the longevity and to have put the roots really in Albuquerque wrestling the way it has?
Not a chance. Not even a little bit. So I mean, I didn't. I wish I could take credit for Hobo Hank. It wasn't my decision. It wasn't my invention. Um, it was given to me. I was asked to try it, and honestly, I didn't want to. You know, it wasn't. I didn't want to go out in front of crowds of kids and try to pretend to be drunk, because that is the way it was presented to me. So the first night I did it, it was definitely you know, it was a challenge. And I was kind of hoping that that would be it. And honestly, the crowd responded so well to it. It was kind of undeniable. And the more I did it, and the more, I guess, I think that what really what changed it for me is that I realized that, you know, Hobo Hank was, it was kind of the paint on the barn, if you will. You know, it was part of the package. Um, but the real character, the character traits that come from it, they're just me. You know, they're just me kind of dialed up a little bit. Hobo Hank's stoic. Hobo Hank is going to fight. You know, he's going to try. He's not going to get discouraged. And I think those are just things that I just tend to be in real life. And so I try not to play it up too hokey. I try not to, you know, go too far into that. Uh, and it just, I love how much people love that character. And now looking back and being part of it, I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be Hobo Hank.
How many years now has it been that you feel like you've got the presentation, like you understand who the character is, and you have all the components and elements to kind of be the Hobo Hank that you've almost envisioned when you were thinking, how can I make this as optimal as possible?
I think if I remember my history right, again, I started back in '96. I would say my first Hobo Hank match was probably '01, and I I I wrestled as Hobo Hank in a couple different companies over all over Texas and parts of New Mexico and whatnot. And it was one of those things where I did it for a while and I did something else and brought it up and back down and back and forth. And I think Hobo Hank really kind of in Amarillo he caught on. He caught on everywhere, and that's where I knew that there was something there. And when I finally got into DWO in Albuquerque in 2008, I would say by 2010, um, Hobo Hank was pretty fleshed out, and I was starting to really feel like that was something that it meant something to people, and I was becoming really proud to be that character. So, and then man, when Matthew Robles came on the scene about 2012, I think that was kind of the icing on the cake, if you will. To me, there's no Hobo Hank without Matt Robles.
I was just going to ask you that. How integral is having that evil nemesis to keep giving your character a goal, and that villain they need to topple for everyone's benefit?
It's again, there's just you can't have one without the other. There's the yin and the yang. Um, it would be a totally different situation and a different level. So Matt coming into the picture and us crossing paths was destiny, literally at Destiny Wrestling. So um, when we first set off, Fred Slow and I, when we first started talking about Duke City Championship Wrestling, and we were brainstorming kind of what this brand was going to look like, and what the presentation would look like, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a million things that go into it, right? Like people think you just show up, put up a ring, and you're a wrestling company, and that's so far from the truth. There's branding and logos and just business and paperwork and whatnot. So one of the first conversations we had about talent, who would I bring in first and foremost? Literally, the first phone calls I made were, of course, to Thunder and Matthew Robles and Adam Merrick. Those were the first three guys that followed, by the refs, the local refs, Kyle and Francisco, Jeff. Those were the very first people that I reached out to and include in, because um, I knew that Matthew Robles and Merrick and all these people were they were pivotal. We had to have them as part of this to be successful.
You brought up Thunder, and it's amazing. It's a marvel of this industry that you told me he was there or you were there. You guys started training around the same time, and to still be in connection and to still be doing this together that many years later. You don't see that story in pro wrestling that often.
No, it's super super rare, man. And Thunder. I hope he catches this. I'm sure somebody will send it his way, but he's one of the greatest guys I know in and out of the ring. One of the greatest people I've ever known. He's like a brother to me, and I started 30 years ago. He started, I think, 28 years ago. He was just right behind. Um, so we came up together. I was his first match. We did a whole series of matches right out of the gate. We traveled together. We've run other companies together. We've name it. We've done it. Um, it's just as simple as trust, man. I trust him completely. He doesn't have a negative slant to him. He's just a good person. Um, and I think to him and to me both, like, this business is not about ego. It's not about putting ourselves over. It's just we love it, right? And we want to be a part of it, and we're proud of it. Um, but we've come to understand pretty quickly that nobody has to fail for us to win. And he's just a really positive person to have on your team, man. Like, why wouldn't you want a guy like that in your life? So, um, but I definitely don't want to forget. I have the opportunity on broadcast, we have a wrestling school. We finally opened up. We teamed up. So Thunder is our head trainer and main owner. It's called the Thungeon, and it is Duke City Championship Wrestling's official training facility. It is in Albuquerque. It's right off of Manal and San Mateo, and a very nice facility. We got our six-sided ring down there, and Thunder does training on Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Saturdays. So if you've ever wanted to become a professional wrestler, or you've started to take those steps but don't know where to go next and want to get more ring time, just reach out. Hit us up on Instagram or Facebook. You can go to the Duke City Championship site, shoot us a message. We'll get you in touch with him, and you'll be in great hands from day one.
You guys, I thought you guys had my tongue in a figure four leg lock when I was trying to read the T-shirt. I'm like, Thungeon, Thundergun. I don't know. I want to say it and mess it up. Thungeon. Okay, all right. Trained to be a pro wrestler locally, and one of those guys you brought up. We're truly ridiculously lucky to have Matthew Robles. Like, I don't know how a bigger show hasn't swallowed him up yet. The genius that he is, one of the most hilarious managers I've seen in the last decade.
Oh, absolutely, and he's done it. He's one of those guys that's so fascinating. I've been really blessed to have a really cool life. I can tell you a lot of great stories about people I've worked with and things I've done. But man, that guy trumps me in spades. If you sit down with him and ask him what he's been able to do and where he's gone and the people he's met, his Rolodex is insane. He's fascinating. So no, you're absolutely right, man. The fact that he's not on a giant, level baffles me. I don't understand why. I'm blessed. It's just a blessing, honestly. I think it's just destiny that we still have him. That's it.
If you follow the show, you've seen that the women have been a huge part of Duke City Championship Wrestling since the inception. And I think with having Natalie Markova around, it really did shock a lot of people that Zamya has been our champion, and she has grown leaps and bounds in the last 6 months.
Yeah, Zamya's fantastic, man. She's part of a group of wrestlers that's come out of Phoenix, Arizona. Gabriel Gallo, Don Vitale were their main trainers, and both guys that go way back. If you think back in DWO, they're both great guys. They're both great workers. They're both great trainers and coaches, and they put out some great talent. Devin's part of that. Zamya's part of that. And Pretty City Express. I mean, the list goes on. I think Zamya is. It's funny, she was a great heel. You had no problem disliking her for sure, but at the heart of it, she is such a sweet person. And I think now, over the last couple of months, seeing that side of her, I think the fans have really glommed onto her because they realize how genuine that character is, because it's not a character. Again, it's back to the Hobo Hank thing. It's when you're not playing a character, when you're not pretending to be something you're not, then people will follow because they believe it and it's true. So I love her to death. She's great to work with, and I'm proud of her. And I think, she's had some fantastic matches with some top level talent.
Heel versus heel, I think it is. Marvelous Jaden Monroe versus Chris Watson. Talk about someone coming into their skin in Marvelous Monroe. And Chris Watson, ever since he's put on this extra size, I feel like he just walks around with more confidence, basically because he could walk through anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chris Watson, I mean, the guy's been wrestling forever. He's always been a great wrestler, no doubt about that. But yes, he's been working on the physique. He's bulked up quite a bit. And he's been out. Right? He's been working for other companies and got a lot more reps under his belt, and the confidence is definitely there. And in his new skin, he's like a whole different person, right? People are gravitating to what he's doing. And then Jaden Monroe, I'm going to say this 100 times. Like, there's so many guys that are almost my favorite, right? And I love everyone for different reasons. I think Jaden Monroe, to me, is kind of like he reminds me a little bit of like a Mr. Perfect, or I don't know, like a young Ted DiBiase in a way. Good looking, could potentially be a face in a way, but man, he just has a face that you want to slap. and he's so good at that. And Pollo Del Mar is like a legend in this business, and to Pollo is now chasing after Jaden and wants to be more than just friends, if you will. And it'll be interesting to see what Jaden does with that. I don't know. I love watching the chaos unfold between them.
You want to have an interesting car ride, be the driver for Pollo Del Mar. I've done that one a few times. You think exchanging stories with Robles gets interesting? No one can touch her. We're just going to leave that one at that. But a face that we all want to slap coming up on the 7th, Turbo Tony, that damn scoundrel. He's teaming up with Ronin. Manny Lemons has been tearing it up across many companies. Great to see what he's doing. And he's going to team up with Thunder. And I hope somebody does smack Tony.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tony needs a smack once in a while. He's again, a talent that can't be denied, right? Whether you like him or you don't, whether he's following the rules or he's not, he's somebody to watch. He's got one heck of a physique. He can wrestle. Everybody in that match can wrestle. There's no denying it. And I'm excited to see what that match looks like. Thunder's been doing this forever. He's always going to put on a fantastic match no matter what. And then Manny Lemons has been, where haven't you seen Manny Lemons lately? He was on TNA twice last week at Tingley Coliseum. As soon as he left, he was in Colorado. I think the next night he was in another state. So he's all over the country. It's just a matter of time before somebody swoops him up. So enjoy him while we got him, guys.
A stat card, a tremendous night. You've been all over the country. What is it about kind of the atmosphere, the Duke City, the New Mexico territory makes this audience, this kind of feeling special, what we have brewing here over the last 2 years with DCCW?
It's crazy. I have been all over the place. I've done plenty of indie shows all over, and the turnout, first and foremost, for our events is on average so much higher than almost anywhere else in the country right now. There are definitely some small companies that do well, but if you really look across the country, how many hundreds of indie promotions, and the majority of them are lucky to break 100 people, and we consistently draw 400, 500, 600 people. And like I looked today before I was on the interview earlier today, we had 46 seats left for the event on the 7th. So we are consistently selling out, month after month. And so that, to me, that's just a testament to how much Albuquerque loves wrestling. They love the tradition of it. They love the involvement of the live shows. And it's tricky to bring it here because we do have some laws and regulations that we have to follow. So it's kind of a thing where, like, you either, if you're going to try to create wrestling in Albuquerque, you have to go all in, because you have to draw enough people to cover your costs of all of these regulations, licenses, and ambulance, doctors, so on and so forth. So it's really, really hard. You can't just come in and run a show, and if you draw 100 people, you're going to go broke extremely fast. And we knew that. We knew that we had to get to a level where we were drawing 400-ish consistently, and Albuquerque is not disappointed. We have some great sponsors. We've got a lot of community support. And now with the NWA brand on us, it's just made it even better.
How many of the goals that you set out have we already matched for the product, for the company, for the presentation, for the storytelling that you guys have been able to achieve?
Oh man, a lot of the, again, because I'll just remind everybody, when I had thought about bringing wrestling back, 2019, 2020, whenever it was, it crossed my mind, but I really wasn't sure if I wanted to go down that road and dedicate myself to it. Fred Slow was the one that reached out, and he said, I want to run wrestling, and I want to do it with you. How do we make this happen? And I was very blunt. I told him exactly what that was going to look like and the pitfalls and trials and tribulations we would face. And he is literally the perfect partner for this. And we along the way we've added the rest of our leadership team, right? So we got Fernando, we've got Aaron, we've got Darren. The five of us are what bring Duke City Championship Wrestling to life every month. Everybody brings different things to the table, which is why we are successful. But to answer your question, um, I, if I had checked out when my goals were met, I would have been done wrestling in like 2008. Uh, every year, it's like things keep happening for me and to me around me that I never quite envisioned, and it's cooler than my dream was. So at this point, I'm smart enough to just go along for the ride. Now I'm going to do this as long as I can, and as long as good things keep coming from it, I'm going to just keep trying.
What was it like winning that world title, becoming the Duke City heavyweight champion? That El Rey went nuts for you. And then we saw the Rio Rancho Event Center, a cage match. Every time you come out, the places go nuts. But what is it like winning the belt and having that elation?
It was crazy. It's one of those things that as a kid, 8 years old, wanting to be a pro wrestler, you picture that stuff, right? You pretend you're in your bedroom and you're playing with your toy belt and your toy wrestlers and whatever, and you picture what that might feel like and look like, and then to actually be standing, especially like in a cage, which is already kind of a surreal moment, and the lighting and the smoke and all this stuff. Um, it's you can't really describe it. It's like a movie. Everything kind of slows down a little bit, and uh, you just try to suck it all in and enjoy it. And then every single time I make my entrance now at the El Rey, when I step to the rope and I kind of squint to the lights are in my eyes, and I'm just kind of squinting because I'm trying to see the people high up in the mezzanine and how far back, and I'm just trying to appreciate those moments because I know they won't last forever, and I want to remember them for the rest of my life.
Does that stand out as the top moment? Are there too many top moments for you to pick out? Is there a handful of top moments?
Oh man, there are so many top moments. I could probably list you at my top 50, honestly. But yeah, that cage match was definitely top five for sure. I was in there with Thunder, one of my best friends and somebody that's been along this journey with me my entire life. And I remember just standing there at the beginning of the match. The referee's giving us kind of last minute instructions, and I'm looking at Thunder and I'm like, look where you are, man. Look where we are. Um, that was really cool. But again, it's so hard. Like people ask me all the time, what was the best match you ever had? Well, I don't know. It's you know, uh, last year I was at WrestleMania. I was sitting there, I'm watching WrestleMania live at the Allegiant Stadium, and Jacob came out. Jacob Fatu came out to wrestle LA Knight, and my girlfriend was sitting next to me, and she starts elbowing the people next to her. And she goes, "This guy wrestled him just a year and a couple months ago," and um, just that was such a special night to be part of his last few indie matches. I was like the third. 3 guys later, he's in the WWE, where he deservedly should be. Um, I don't know, man. I've wrestled Tommy Dreamer. I've wrestled Bubba Ray Dudley. I've been in the ring with Jeff Jarrett. There's so many things that I've done that meant something for different reasons. Uh, I can't tell you the top one, but every night we're just Silas. I can't wait to wrestle. I've wrestled some former NWA World Champions, Rob Conway for instance, but I've never actually been in the ring with the current NWA World Champion. So Silas, that'll be my first.
Did the cage match, did that live up to the expectations? I heard that was something 20 years in the making that you and Thunder had been talking about.
Um, yeah, I think for the most part it did. I think would I go back and do it again? Yeah, and would I do different things? Absolutely. I could have a part two of that match. all day. But you know, I I was really, really happy with the events. The Rio Rancho Event Center has been a Matt that runs it is an amazing partner to us and friend of us, and he has afforded us the opportunity to wrestle in that amazing facility, and he's been supportive with all kinds of different things, to our shows. Um, so we had great light. I mean, what independent wrestling company has great lighting? An actual 12-foot plus steel cage that was erected by Valley Fence, another one of our partners. Everything that we did that night was pretty professional. It was pretty high level. So um, I was just proud from the beginning to the end. The card was great. The layout was great. Um, in the very, very end, when I was sitting on the top of the cage, just covered in blood and holding the belt and exhausted, not just from the match, but from the days prior putting that show together. How could I not be proud of that? Like, not too many people get to do that, and I do, and I'm blessed. So thank you, Albuquerque, for helping make that a reality.
We saw Manny Lemons make the debut. Also on Friday night at TNA, we saw another guy that done so much with Duke City Championship Wrestling get in there, and to the shock of no one, the entire Tingley Coliseum is chanting 2 scoops. What does that mean, having seen one of our guys evolve and grow in that manner in this local market?
It's awesome, man. And I didn't. When I left the arena, Tommy Two Scoops was standing there with some of his family. I got to say a few words to him. I didn't get to say exactly what I wanted to say, but Tommy was a fan of DWO. He used to go to the shows when he was a little bit younger, and that is what, in part, between that and just being a huge wrestling fan in general, part of what inspired him to be a pro wrestler. And he went out to Arizona to train and came back, ready to roll. And we were lucky enough to have him join our roster. And he's told me before stories of sitting in the DWO crowd watching me wrestle as a kid. And I was sitting there with Fred and my girlfriend Christina, and I was telling them, like, it's cool, man. Like, it makes me it chokes me up a little bit that I got to sit in the crowd and watch him wrestle. I love that. I love just the growth that everybody's showing, and really that's all this was about. From my perspective, I know I can't speak for Fred. I don't know exactly what motivated him to want to start Duke City Championship Wrestling, but for me, I just wanted to keep active in the wrestling business for at least the last couple of years before I can't do it anymore. And then I wanted to create opportunities. I wanted to, just let people get to perform at a level that we could provide, and just have a good time with it. So it makes me really happy to see people branch out as a result of stuff that we've done.
And he's going to be taking on Sale Taylor, our diabolical DCCW Heavyweight Champion, for sale. He's the leader. All of them are crooks and cheats, along with Matthew Robles. And hopefully you guys give them what's coming to them. February 7th, the thrill of tradition. NWA sending some of their top talents to dance with our favorites from the Duke City. HoldMyTicket.com is how you get your tickets. And also, you guys now heard where you can go to learn to be a pro wrestler and trace your own dream. Joe Singer, Hobo Hank, thank you so much for the time tonight.
It was a pleasure, Mike. And congratulations to you. And it's crazy to think back when I first met you and all the things you've done since in this industry. It's pretty amazing, man. And I'm happy to know you, and I appreciate everything you do to help us every month bring DCCW to life.
Oh, happy to be part of the magic. Happy to help. And thank you so much for the kind words.
Now you got it, brother. You guys have a good night.
You too.